1 month after the Battle of Seoul, the galaxy was still talking. The footage had spread across every communication network in the compact. 47 Dominion warships defeated in less than an hour. 0 human losses. Thousands of prisoners treated with mercy and returned unharmed. A hidden fleet revealed, larger and more powerful than anyone had imagined. Earth was no longer a minor world on the edge of nowhere. Earth was something new, something terrifying, something wonderful. Captain Yuna stood in the diplomatic chambers of Seoul Station, watching delegations arrive from across the galaxy. 12 species had sent representatives in the past week alone. Some came seeking alliances. Some came demanding explanations. Some came simply to stare at the humans, as if trying to understand how such a small, young species had become so powerful. Admiral Suho handled each delegation with the same calm patience he brought to everything. Yes, humanity had a significant military. No, they had no plans to conquer anyone. Yes, they would defend their allies. No, they would not share their technology freely. You are disrupting the balance of power, complained the Kelthrani ambassador, a tall being with silver skin and too many joints. The compact has maintained peace for 10,000 years through careful equilibrium. You have upset everything. Suho sipped his coffee. Somehow, he always had coffee. Peace through fear is not real peace, Ambassador. It is just delayed war. You are naive. The galaxy does not change because you wish it to. Perhaps not. Suho set down his cup. But it might change because we give it a reason to. Yuna had attended several of these meetings as a witness. The compact wanted to understand why humans had risked everything for one damaged ship. They could not comprehend it. Resources without return? Military action without strategic benefit? It made no sense, but Yuna understood now. She had spent a month living among humans, watching them work and play and argue and laugh. She had seen Mika spend 3 days without sleep to perfect an engine modification. She had watched Jisoo weep over patients she could not save. She had drunk coffee with Suho while he talked about his grandchildren. Humans were not logical. They were emotional, messy, contradictory. They held grudges for centuries and forgave enemies overnight. They destroyed themselves with war and rebuilt with impossible hope. They were everything the compact was not, and perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. The Pale Wanderer was ready to depart. After a month of repairs and upgrades, she was almost unrecognizable. Faster engines, stronger shields, better weapons, new medical equipment. Even the crew quarters had been improved, with comfortable beds and entertainment systems. You did not have to do all this, Yuna told Chief Engineer Mika as they walked through the ship one final time. Mika shrugged. We were already working. Might as well do it right. There must be some cost. Some debt we owe. The human woman stopped and looked at her with genuine confusion. Captain, you do not owe us anything. You needed help. We helped. That is how it works. That is not how anything works. Mika laughed. Maybe it should be. On the bridge, the crew prepared for departure. Torek stood at his station, wearing a human combat knife on his belt beside his traditional Gorvathy blade. A gift from the Marine unit he had trained with during their stay. He would never admit it, but Yuna knew he would treasure it forever. Lieutenant Bora had been permanently assigned to the Pale Wanderer as human liaison. He stood at a new station that had been installed just for him, surrounded by equipment that connected him to Earth's communication networks. Ready when you are. Captain, he said before giving the order. Yuna received one final visitor. Admiral Suho came to the bridge personally, carrying a small box. A gift, he said, offering it to her. For your journey. Yuna opened the box. Inside was a human star chart, carefully drawn on old paper in the traditional style. At its center, Sol System was marked with a small symbol. A home. You are always welcome here, Suho said. For repairs, for supplies, or simply to visit. Any friend of humanity is welcome. Yuna held the chart carefully. Such a small gift. Such a simple gesture. And yet it meant more than any treasure. Why? She asked one final time. Truly, why did you help us? Admiral Suho smiled his tired, kind smile. When I was young, I once needed help badly. I was alone, afraid, and lost. Someone stopped to help me. A stranger. They asked nothing in return. They simply saw someone in trouble and decided to act. He looked out the viewport at Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. I asked them why, just as you are asking me now. And they said something I never forgot. They said that kindness is not logical. It does not make sense. It does not balance any equation. But it is what separates us from the darkness. It is what makes life worth living. He turned back to her. We cannot control how others act. We can only control ourselves. And we choose to be kind. We choose to help. We choose to believe that it matters, even when logic says it does not. Yuna felt something warm in her chest. An emotion she had forgotten after 200 years of politics and survival and careful calculation. Hope. Thank you, she said. For everything? Suho nodded. Safe travels, Captain. The galaxy is watching humanity now. Perhaps some of what we showed them will spread. Perhaps kindness can be contagious. He left the bridge, and Yuna gave the order to depart. The Pale Wanderer rose from Sol Station, her new engines humming with power. As she cleared Earth orbit, she passed the human war fleet, still assembled, still ready. Thousands of ships crewed by humans who had chosen to risk everything for strangers. Course, Captain? Laura asked. Yuna looked at her star charts. Home was 3 weeks away. The Velthrani assembly needed to hear what had happened here. They needed to understand what humans truly were. But beyond that, she saw something else. The Dominion was weakened but not destroyed. Other threats existed throughout the galaxy. Millions of ships traveled through dangerous space, alone and vulnerable, hoping for safety. Perhaps the Pale Wanderer could help some of them. Perhaps they could spread what the humans had shown them. Perhaps kindness really could be contagious. Home, she said finally. But slowly. We are in no rush. And if we find anyone who needs help along the way... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Tarek smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Bora laughed quietly. Even the ship itself seemed to hum with approval. The Pale Wanderer jumped to hyperspace, carrying the story of humanity's first galactic war. Carrying the seeds of change. Carrying hope. Behind them, Earth continued to turn. Humans went about their lives, drinking coffee, telling stories, building futures. They did not know they had changed the galaxy. They did not care. They had simply done what was right. And that, they believed, was enough. 6 months later, the Galactic Compact invited humanity to join the Security Council. Admiral Suho accepted on one condition, a new rule requiring all members to help each other in times of need. Just as Earth had helped the Pale Wanderer, the motion passed. Unanimously, the galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in deep space. Captain Yuna smiled, poured herself a cup of coffee, and watched the stars pass by. It was a good beginning. The Dominion fleet arrived at dawn, dropping out of hyperspace like a storm breaking over calm waters. 47 warships arranged in perfect attack formation. Their commander, War Prince Voreth, broadcast his demands across all frequencies. Humans of Earth, you harbor criminals of the Dominion. Surrender the Velthrani vessel and its crew immediately. Refuse, and we will turn your world to ash. You have 1 hour to comply. On the bridge of the command ship Eternal Soul, Admiral Suho listened to the message calmly. Around him, officers worked their stations with quiet efficiency. Screens showed the enemy fleet, targeting data, tactical projections. Everything was ready. Reply sent? Suho asked. His communications officer nodded. Yes, sir. One word, as you ordered. Across the void of space, the Dominion received humanity's response. A single word. No. War Prince Vorath laughed when he heard it. The humans were brave, he admitted. Brave and stupid. His fleet outnumbered their visible forces 3-1. His ships were veterans of a dozen conquests. These primitives thought they could resist? Destroy them, he ordered. Save the orbital station. I want those humans alive to watch their world burn. The Dominion fleet advanced. Their weapons charged, filling space with the hum of death. Vorath imagined the fear the humans must feel, watching annihilation approach. Then the moon moved. It did not actually move, of course, but the ships hidden behind it did. 312 human vessels emerged from lunar shadow, their camouflage dropping, their weapons hot. Carriers released swarms of fighters that darkened the stars. Destroyers moved in perfect formation, like wolves circling prey. And at the heart of the formation, 5 dreadnoughts unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Vorath's confidence cracked. Where did those come from? Unknown, War Prince. They were not there before. They simply appeared. Vorath had no time to process this. The human fleet was already moving, faster than any ships he had encountered. Their formation shifted like water, flowing around his fleet, cutting off retreat paths he had not even considered yet. Admiral Suho watched from the Eternal Soul as his fleet engaged. 40 years of preparation. 40 years of hiding. 40 years of waiting for exactly this moment. All ships, execute pattern victory, he said calmly. The battle became a dance. Human destroyers struck at Dominion flanks, firing and retreating before the enemy could respond. Fighter squadrons tore through Dominion formations, pilots laughing over open communications as they performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. On the Pale Wanderer, Captain Yuno watched from the repaired bridge. Her ship had been moved behind the human lines, protected, but still able to observe. She had insisted on watching. She needed to see. Their coordination is incredible, she said quietly. Chief Engineer Mika stood at the weapons console beside her. The human woman had insisted on joining them, claiming she wanted to test the new systems. Now she tracked the battle with bright, excited eyes. We train for this constantly, Mika explained. Simulations, exercises, war games. Every human officer knows exactly what every other officer will do in any situation. We do not need to communicate. We just know. That level of coordination should be impossible. Mika grinned. We are very stubborn. The Dominion fleet began to crumble. Human tactics were devastating, exploiting weaknesses that Vorath had not known existed. His ships were faster, yes, but the humans were smarter. They predicted his movements before he made them. They struck where he was weakest. They vanished when he tried to strike back. Captain Dohan coordinated intelligence from a ship near the battle's edge, feeding information to the fleet. He had studied Dominion tactics for years, preparing for exactly this moment. Every move Vorath made was anticipated. Every strategy was countered before it began. War Prince Vorath is predictable, Dohan reported. He is using standard Dominion Assault Pattern 3. He will attempt a breakthrough at our center in 4 minutes. Admiral Suho nodded. Reinforce the center. Let him commit, then close the trap. Vorath did exactly as predicted. He gathered his remaining ships for a desperate charge at the human center, hoping to break through and reach Earth. It was his only option. It was exactly what the humans wanted. The trap closed. Human ships surrounded the Dominion breakthrough, cutting them off from retreat. Concentrated fire tore through Dominion shields. Ship after ship went dark, disabled but not destroyed. The humans were not trying to kill. They were trying to capture. Why are they not destroying us? Vorath demanded, watching his fleet fall apart around him. His tactical officer had no answer. In his experience, battles ended in death. The enemy showed no mercy. That was how war worked. But the humans kept disabling ships instead of destroying them. They targeted engines, weapons, shields, leaving the crews alive. Rescue shuttles followed behind the assault, collecting survivors from broken vessels. Vorath finally understood. The humans were not just defeating him. They were humiliating him. They were proving they could have killed his entire fleet but chose not to. They were showing the galaxy exactly how much they were holding back. In desperation, Vorath aimed his flagship at the lead human dreadnought. If he was going to die, he would take the human commander with him. Admiral Suho saw the ramming approach. His face did not change. Target their engines. Disable, do not destroy. Human weapons struck the Dominion flagship with surgical precision. The engines died. The ship went dark. Vorath floated helplessly in space, unable to fight, unable to flee, unable to die with honor. The battle ended 47 minutes after it began. 47 Dominion ships defeated. 0 human vessels destroyed. Thousands of prisoners taken, all of them alive. Yuna watched in amazement as human rescue teams began collecting survivors. They treated Dominion wounded with the same care they had shown her crew. They were efficient, professional, and bizarrely cheerful. "We won," Tarek said quietly. He sounded like he could not believe it. "They won," Yuna corrected. "And they did it without hate, without cruelty. They fought like it was just a job that needed doing." Lieutenant Bora appeared on the bridge, smiling widely. "Captain, Admiral Suho sends his regards. He says you are welcome to visit the Dominion flagship if you wish to see War Prince Vorath." Yuna considered this. Part of her wanted to see the creature who had tried to destroy her. Part of her wanted to watch him brought low. But what would that prove? The humans had already proven everything that mattered. "No," she said. "I have seen enough. Tell the Admiral thank you. For everything." Bora nodded and left. Yuna looked out at the battlefield, where human ships collected debris and rescued the wounded from both sides. "They are insane," Tarek said quietly. "Completely insane." "Yes," Yuna agreed. "And I think that might be the best thing about them." Somewhere in the wreckage, War Prince Vorath sat in his dark, powerless bridge, trying to understand what had happened. He never did. The night before battle, the humans threw a party. Yuna did not understand this at first. In her experience, the hours before combat were spent in preparation, meditation, and fear. Warriors cleaned their weapons. Officers reviewed their plans. Everyone prepared to die. The humans ate snacks, played loud music, and laughed. Seoul Orbital Station's central hub had been transformed into a gathering space. Humans and aliens mingled freely, sharing food and drink and stories. Someone had set up a display showing human entertainment, and a group of aliens watched in confusion as tiny animated characters fought colorful monsters on screen. "This is insane," Tarek muttered, standing beside Yuna near the edge of the crowd. "Do they not understand what is coming?" "I think they understand very well," Yuna said thoughtfully. "Perhaps this is how they face it." Across the room, she saw Dr. Jisoo talking with a group of her wounded crew members. The Gorvathi soldiers had recovered remarkably fast under human care. Now they sat with the small human doctor, listening as she asked questions about their homeworld. Trek watched the scene with complicated eyes. She saved Warrior Korath, he said quietly. His wounds were fatal. Any compact doctor would have let him die. She worked for 6 hours without rest. Did you thank her? Tarek grunted. I do not know how. Among my people, such a debt cannot be repaid with words. As if hearing her name, Jisoo looked up and waved at them. She said something to the Gorvati soldiers and walked over, carrying 2 cups of coffee. First Officer Tarek. Captain Yuna. I was hoping to find you. She offered them the cups with a bright smile. Have you tried this blend? It is from a region of Earth called Ethiopia. Very smooth. Tarek took the cup carefully. His massive hands made it look like a toy. He sniffed it, then took a careful sip. His 4 eyes went wide. This is acceptable, he admitted. Jisoo beamed. I knew you would like it. Gorvathi taste receptors are similar to human ones. I read a paper about it. She turned to Yuna. Captain, I wanted to tell you that your crew is doing well. Everyone will be fully recovered by tomorrow. Thank you, Doctor. Your care has been exceptional. It is what we do. Jisoo's smile softened. I became a doctor because I wanted to help people. I never imagined I would help people from other worlds. It is the best thing that ever happened to me. She was called away by another patient, leaving Tarek staring at his coffee with a strange expression. She meant that, he said. She was not lying or manipulating. She genuinely wants to help. I know, Yuna said. It is strange. Later, Yuna received an invitation to meet Admiral Suho. She found him in a small private room above the party, sitting at a simple table with a pot of coffee between them. He was older than most humans she had met, with gray hair and deep lines on his face. His eyes were tired but kind. Captain Yuna, thank you for joining me. He poured her a cup and pushed it across the table. I wanted to speak with you before tomorrow. Yuna sat across from him. You are the commander of the Hidden Fleet. I am. Suho took a long drink of his coffee. 312 ships. 40,000 crew. The largest military force Earth has ever assembled. And tomorrow, we go to war. Are you afraid? The Admiral considered the question. No. I have been preparing for this moment for 40 years. I am ready. He paused. But I am sad. I hoped we would never have to use this fleet. I hoped the galaxy would leave us alone to grow and learn in peace. The galaxy is not peaceful, Yuna said. No, we learned that quickly. Suho stared into his cup. When humanity first reached space, we were so excited. We thought we would find friends among the stars. Allies, perhaps even guidance from older, wiser civilizations. Instead, you found the compact. Instead, we found politics, power games, species who saw us as resources to be used or threats to be contained. Suho shook his head. We were naive. We thought civilization meant kindness. We learned it only meant organization. Yuna knew this truth. The compact was not evil, but it was not good either. It was simply a system, indifferent to the species within it. So you hid, she said. You built your fleet in secret. We learned from our own history. Earth has been invaded many times by our own people. We know what happens to civilizations that cannot defend themselves. They are conquered, enslaved, erased. Suho looked at her directly. We decided that would never happen to us. Whatever else humans are, we are survivors. And yet you risk everything for us. One damaged ship. One alien crew. Admiral Suho smiled. It transformed his tired face into something warm. Captain, do you know why humans tell so many stories about heroes? About small groups standing against impossible odds? About ordinary people finding courage they did not know they had? Yuna had noticed this during her time on the station. Human entertainment was full of such stories. Underdogs defeating giants. Weak becoming strong. Hope against despair. Because we want to believe it is possible, Suho said. We want to believe that good can triumph. That kindness matters. That helping others, even at great cost to ourselves, is worthwhile. He set down his cup. When your ship arrived, broken and dying, you asked for help. You trusted us. How could we betray that trust? You barely know us. We know enough. You are travelers, far from home, attacked for no reason. You have wounded who need healing. You have families waiting for you to return. Suho stood and walked to the window, looking out at the fleet below. Among humans, that is enough. That will always be enough. Yuna joined him at the window. The war fleet moved in silent formation, preparing for battle. Thousands of humans on those ships, ready to fight for strangers they had never met. You are a strange species, she said quietly. Yes, Suho laughed. We know. We have always been strange. Too emotional, too stubborn, too attached to ideas like justice and mercy that make no logical sense. He looked at her with tired, kind eyes. But perhaps the galaxy needs some strangeness. Perhaps it needs people who will fight for what is right, not just what is profitable. Somewhere below, the party continued. Humans and aliens laughing together, sharing food and stories in the shadow of coming war. Tomorrow will change everything, Yuna said. Yes, Admiral Suho agreed. For better or worse, tomorrow the galaxy learns what humanity really is. He poured them both more coffee, and they drank together in comfortable silence, watching the stars and waiting for dawn. On the second day, Yuna walked through her own ship and did not recognize it. The Pale Wanderer floated in dry dock at Sol Orbital Station, connected by dozens of umbilical cables that fed power, air, and supplies into her damaged frame. Human workers moved through every corridor. They crawled through maintenance shafts. They hung from the ceiling, replacing wiring. They argued cheerfully about technical specifications that Yuna did not understand. The engine room was the strangest sight. Chief Engineer Mika had completely removed the old fusion core. The heart of the ship was simply gone, leaving an empty space where humans now installed something new. The Mark VII hybrid system, Mika called it. It was smaller than the old core, but hummed with power that made Yuna's scales tingle. We are also upgrading your structural frame, Mika explained, not looking up from her work. The new core puts out more power than your old hull can handle. We need to reinforce everything or you will shake apart the first time you go to full speed. Yuna watched the humans work. They moved without rest. Shift after shift arrived, fresh and eager, replacing tired workers who left reluctantly. She had never seen such endless energy. How do they keep going? She asked Lieutenant Bora, who stood beside her. The human liaison smiled and held up a cup of dark liquid. Coffee, he said. It is a human drink. We are somewhat addicted to it. Yuna took the cup carefully and sniffed. The smell was strange and bitter. She took a small sip and immediately regretted it. The taste was like burned soil mixed with something sharp and unpleasant. But underneath that, she felt a sudden spark of energy, a strange alertness that spread through her body. This is a drug, she said. Technically, yes, Bora admitted, but a very popular one. We put it in everything. Most humans cannot function properly without it. Yuna took another sip. The taste was still terrible, but that energy was interesting. She understood now why the humans never seemed to stop. Elsewhere on the station, her crew was receiving similar treatment. The wounded had been moved to a human medical facility where a doctor named Jisoo worked miracles. The Gorvathy healing process usually took weeks of careful treatment. Jisoo had them stable in hours, using techniques and equipment that the compact considered experimental. Your cellular regeneration is fascinating, Jisoo told Tarek while treating a deep wound on his arm. Gorvathy tissue rebuilds itself in layers, like tree rings. I've only read about this in journals. Seeing it in person is incredible. Tarek grunted, uncomfortable with the attention. You seem to know much about species you have barely met. We study everything, Jisoo said simply. Humans are curious. When we joined the compact, we collected every piece of information we could find. Medical databases, engineering specifications, cultural histories. Knowledge is valuable. The first officer said nothing, but Yuna saw him watching Jisoo with new interest. The humans were more complex than they appeared. On the third day, Captain Do-won arrived. He was different from the other humans Yuna had met. Where Mika was loud and energetic, where Jisoo was warm and curious, Do-won was quiet. He moved without sound. He watched everything with dark eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations, but other humans straightened when he walked past. Captain Yuna, he said, entering her temporary quarters. I am Captain Do-won, Earth Intelligence Division. I would like to discuss the attack on your vessel. Yuna nodded slowly. She had expected questions eventually. The Dominion Raiders. 6 ships, patrol class. They found us near the Cygnus Arm. Yes. Do-won sat across from her, pulling out a small device that projected a star map. We have been tracking Dominion activity in that region for some time. They have increased raiding operations by 300% in the last year. Your ship is not the first they have attacked. Yuna felt cold. You know about this? We know about many things. Do-won zoomed the map to show a cluster of red dots, each marking a Dominion attack. The compact considers these incidents minor. Acceptable losses. We disagree. He touched the map again, and a new image appeared. A fleet of ships moving through space toward Sol System. The raiders who attacked you are part of a larger force. 47 warships. Based on your trajectory when you escaped, they know you came here. Do-won looked at her calmly. They will arrive in 4 days. Yuna stood abruptly, her scales flushing bright red with alarm. 47 warships? Coming here? We must warn your people. You must evacuate the station. That will not be necessary. You do not understand. The Dominion does not negotiate. They will destroy the station. They will kill everyone aboard. They will... Captain. Do-won's voice was soft but firm. It stopped her cold. Please, come with me. There is something you should see. He led her through the station to an observation deck high above the main structure. Through the massive windows, Yuna could see Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. She could see the traffic of small ships moving between stations. She could see the pale wanderer in dry dock, surrounded by repair crews. Then Do-won pressed a button on his communicator. The space around Earth changed. What Yuna had thought was empty void suddenly filled with ships. They appeared from nowhere, dropping their camouflage, revealing themselves. Hundreds of them. Carriers larger than space stations. Destroyers bristling with weapons. Dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the compact fleet. A war fleet. A massive, terrible, beautiful war fleet. The compact database says you have no military, Yuna whispered. The compact database is incomplete, Do-won said. We prefer it that way. When you are small and new, it is better if the larger powers do not see you as a threat. So we hid. We built quietly. We waited. Yuna could not look away from the ships. How long have you been preparing? Since we joined the compact. 40 years. We studied every species, every conflict, every war in galactic history. We learned what happens to civilizations that cannot defend themselves. Dawan stood beside her, his reflection ghostly in the window. We decided that would not happen to Earth. Below them, the fleet moved into formation. Thousands of lights, thousands of weapons, all pointed toward the incoming threat. The Dominion is coming for you, Dawan said. But they will have to go through us first. Yuna turned to face him. Why? We are strangers. One damaged ship. Why risk war for us? Captain Dawan smiled slightly. It was the first expression she had seen on his face. Because you asked for help, he said. And we were able to give it. Among humans, that is reason enough. He walked toward the exit, leaving her alone with the view of the fleet. Repairs will be complete in 12 hours, he called back. Rest while you can, Captain. The next few days will be interesting. Yuna stayed at the window for a long time, watching the ships move, drinking her bitter coffee, and wondering what she had gotten herself into. The ship was dying. Captain Yuna knew this the way she knew her own heartbeat. Every groan of metal, every flicker of lights, every cough from the failing engines told her the same terrible truth. The Pale Wanderer had maybe 3 days left before systems failed completely. She stood on the bridge, her forearms gripping the command rail as another shudder ran through the hull. Her scales, usually bright blue, had faded to a dull gray from stress and exhaustion. Around her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence. Half the consoles were dark. The other half showed nothing but bad news. Life support is down to 40%, reported her first officer. Turek was a massive creature, 8 feet tall with 4 yellow eyes and skin like rough stone. He had served with Yuna for 30 years. She had never seen him look afraid until today. We have 6 days of breathable air. Maybe 5. Yuna closed her eyes. 3 days ago, they had been a simple survey vessel mapping new systems in the Cygnus Arm. Then the Dominion raiders found them. 6 warships against 1 unarmed science vessel. The Pale Wanderer had run, but not before taking terrible damage. The raiders had chased them for 2 days before finally breaking off. Now they drifted in empty space, bleeding atmosphere. Their fusion core cracked and unstable. Options. Yuna said quietly. Tarek pulled up a star map on the main display. Most of it was red, marking areas too far to reach. But one small dot glowed green, barely within range. Earth, Tarek said. His voice carried doubt. The human homeworld. It is the only port we can reach. Yuna stared at the dot. Earth. She knew almost nothing about humans. They had joined the Galactic Compact 40 years ago, which made them infants by interstellar standards. The Compact database listed them as a minor species. Agricultural exports. Cultural media. Manual labor. Their technology was generations behind the major powers. Can they even repair a vessel like ours? She asked, unknown. Tarek's massive shoulders moved in what might have been a shrug. But we have no other choice. We die here, or we try Earth. It was not really a choice at all. Yun, I gave the order. The Pale Wanderer turned toward Sol System and limped forward on failing engines. The journey took 18 hours. 18 hours of watching power levels drop, of listening to the ship groan, of wondering if they would arrive as a vessel or a coffin. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol System, Yuna allowed herself one small breath of relief. They had made it. They were still alive. She opened a channel and broadcast a distress signal. This is Captain Yuna of the Galactic Survey Vessel Pale Wanderer. We have suffered critical damage and request emergency assistance. We have wounded crew. Please respond. Then she waited. In her experience, distress responses took time. Bureaucracy moved slowly across all species. She expected to wait an hour for acknowledgement, perhaps 2 hours for a single tugboat to be dispatched. Standard procedure. 4 minutes later, 17 human ships surrounded her vessel. Yuna stared at her sensors, convinced they were malfunctioning. The ships had appeared from nowhere, moving faster than anything she had seen. They were not warships, according to their signatures. The humans called them Coast Guard cutters and emergency response vehicles. Small ships, quick ships, built for exactly this purpose. A voice crackled over her communication system. It was warm and cheerful, speaking accented but clear Galactic Common. Galactic Vessel Pale Wanderer, this is Sol Orbital Station. We received your distress call. We have got you now. Just sit tight and try to relax. Help is here. Before Yuna could respond, she saw movement outside her viewport. Human figures in spacesuits were already approaching her hull. Dozens of them, moving with practice speed, carrying tools and equipment. What are they doing? Tarek demanded. We have not given permission to board. They are not boarding, Yuna said slowly, watching the humans work. They are sealing our hull breaches. It was true. The humans moved across her ship like insects, identifying damage and fixing it with remarkable speed. They welded plates over holes. They replaced destroyed sensors. They worked in perfect coordination, as if they had done this 1,000 times before. Lieutenant Bora appeared on the bridge. He was the human liaison officer who had been assigned to the Pale Wanderer 6 months ago as part of a cultural exchange program. Yuna had barely spoken to him during his time aboard. He was quiet, polite, and easy to overlook. Now he stepped forward with a gentle smile. Captain, Sol Station is requesting permission to send repair teams aboard. They have medical personnel ready for your wounded. Yuna nodded, still watching the humans outside. Permission granted. Within 30 minutes, the Pale Wanderer was transformed. Human repair crews swarmed through her corridors, fixing things Yuna had not even realized were broken. Human doctors took over the medical bay, treating the 17 wounded crew members with equipment far more advanced than anything aboard. And then Chief Engineer Mika arrived. She was a young human woman, short and slim, with black hair pulled back in a tight knot. She wore dirty work clothes covered in grease stains and carried a tablet computer that she consulted constantly. When she walked onto the bridge, she barely glanced at Yuna before heading straight to the engineering station. Mark IV Fusion Core, Mika announced, reading the display. Cracked containment vessel. 60% efficiency. Failing coolant system. She made a sound that might have been a laugh. How are you even still flying? With difficulty, Yuna said carefully. Can you repair it? Mika finally looked at her. The human's eyes were bright with something that looked almost like excitement. Repair it? Captain, this core is ancient. I could repair it, but it would just break again in a month. She tapped her tablet. No, we're going to replace it. I have a Mark VII hybrid system that will fit your frame. Better power output, better efficiency, better everything. Yuna blinked all 4 of her eyes. That is not necessary. Simple repairs will be sufficient. Simple repairs are boring, Mika said. She was already walking toward the engine room, not waiting for permission. Give us 72 hours, Captain. We will make your ship better than new. Tarek moved to Yuna's side after the human left. I do not trust this, he said quietly. Nothing is free. What do they want from us? Yuna had no answer. In her 200 years of life, she had learned that every species wanted something. Every gift came with strings attached. Every kindness had a price, but the humans kept working. They fixed her ship. They healed her crew. They asked for nothing, and Captain Yuna wondered what kind of species she had stumbled upon.